earlier today I came across this article on Boxing News 24. I'll leave the link to this article in the comment section or the description box or wherever in case you want to check out for yourself. I'd encourage you to do so. It is titled Anthony Joshua to go on a world tour of London, Beijing, Australia, America and the Middle East. Now this article has some quotes from everybody's favourite Eddie Hearn, and I think it's interesting, so I'm going to read a couple of quotes. So Eddie Hearn says, "The worst thing now is for AJ to go and have a huge spell of inactivity. Physically he wants to fight, mentally he's getting over the defeat. He still has 4 or 5 weeks before he has to get into camp. I want to build a world tour. I want to see AJ fight in London, Beijing, Australia, the Middle East and America. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I feel he's going to fall in love with the sport again. He wants to stay active. The only one that's making a decision that he's going to fight in December is him." Yeah, some of these sentences are very poorly structured. I don't know if it's the sentence structure or if I'm bugging out. It's been a long day, people, bear with me. From my side, if you feel that you're ready, it's a good idea. Every conversation, including yesterday, we're going in December. The meltdown was good for him because it got a lot out of the system. It's too early to say what's going to happen in December. AJ made a lot of money because he's the biggest name in boxing. Hearn goes on to talk about how Joshua is the biggest name in boxing, makes a lot of money, and how the governing bodies and their sanctioning fees cost a lot. Very true, but blah, blah, blah. He's going to fight a top 15 guy. The fight that I want, that he wants, once again, the sentence structure is just appalling, is Dillian Whyte. It's not going to happen in December, but it's a massive stadium fight next year. The first one was epic, and the second one will be even better. So, very interesting. I think this is Eddie Hearn kind of outlining what the next phase is for Anthony Joshua following his 2 defeats to Oleksandr Usyk. And to be honest, just this surface level idea that we're getting, this introduction, I like it. Personally, I'm someone, I like to see world level boxing take place all over the world. For many years, Anthony Joshua, and he's not the only fighter in this position, but Anthony Joshua was a unified world champion. So he's the heavyweight world champion, but he was like the heavyweight world champion of the UK because his fights were either taking place in London or they were either taking place in Wales. And yeah, he had the fight in Madison Square Garden against Andy Ruiz, but even that fight was a kind of last minute arrangement because he was actually scheduled to fight at Wembley Stadium again in London in April 2019. So yeah, Joshua's fought in the Middle East twice, fought in New York once, obviously America. But I like to see fighters like the fighters of the past, like Muhammad Ali, fight all over the world. It's nice to see a fresh setting, some new scenery. Even in the UK alone, if we just rewind a couple of weeks to when Chris Billam-Smith fought Isaac Chamberlain, that took place in Chris Billam-Smith's hometown of Bournemouth, which it was completely different to London. They had the public workouts on the beach and you could see the sea and the sunset, and it was nice, it was different, it was refreshing. There are so many wonderful places, so many great cities on this planet, but fighters, UK fighters seem to just fight in the UK. American fighters just seem to fight in America. Go around, you're a world champion, go out and represent the world. So I like this idea. Hearn also talks about Joshua taking this opportunity to fight some lower level opposition like Dempsey McKean, Zhilei Zhang and Dillian Whyte. I think you have to imagine that if he's to fight Dempsey McKean, that take place in Australia, Zhilei Zhang, that take place in China, Dillian Whyte, probably in the UK. I think it's more than acceptable to have fights of this level. Some people are going to say, oh, you're biased, you're treating AJ with kid gloves. I said the exact same thing about Deontay Wilder the other day, bro. I said that Deontay Wilder's comeback fight against Helenius, more than acceptable. Guy's coming off of 2 defeats, back-to-back, crushing defeats. I think he deserves a couple of tune-up fights, a couple of development fights, not just for, I mean, you're not going to get much more technique out of Deontay Wilder, I don't think, but confidence. AJ's in the similar position. Yeah, he didn't get knocked out, but he really took a hit mentally and emotionally from the two Usyk fights, particularly the last one, the rematch. So he needs to develop that confidence. He needs to regain the confidence, but also upgrade his skill set, because Joshua is still on a learning curve. He's learning on the job. He didn't have those development fights. He's been learning on the job, kind of learning to swim and just about making it, just about saving himself from drowning. Whereas now he can actually take the time and focus on his development as a fighter, both mentally, emotionally, and technically. So I have a couple of things I want to pick out though from Eddie Hearn. He talks about this world tour, but then obviously talks about Dillian Whyte, and he says how that's a massive stadium fight. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm underestimating the selling power of an Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte rematch, but I'm not entirely sure that fight sells that well. I could be wrong. I just don't think so, because if we factor in that people in the UK especially, but really the world, they just saw Dillian Whyte get absolutely splattered and starched by Tyson Fury at Wembley Stadium. And from what I've seen, the opinion amongst the boxing fraternity, even from the most ardent Anthony Joshua critics and detractors, is that Dillian Whyte doesn't do very well in a rematch between himself and Anthony Joshua. And I tend to agree. I think Dillian Whyte is very much on his way out, probably has one fight at tops left. And if it's against Joshua, I do not see it ending well. Dillian Whyte's a fighter. He'll probably take that fight. And I guess from the perspective of Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua's team and AJ himself, they'll probably see that as an opportunity to have a little confidence booster, maybe score a knockout over an old rival, and just to get the ball rolling for this recovery period and recovery phase of Joshua's career. Eddie Hearn talks about Joshua, this world tour, maybe helping him to fall in love with the sport again. Potentially, Joshua's very much enjoyed the hometown glory back in 2015, 2016, 2017 and 2018 is where it peaked. Joshua was a household favourite, as I say, particularly in 2017 and 2018, because he was just selling out the Wembley Arena, in the Principality Stadium. Wembley Stadium and Principality Stadium, in minutes. People wanted to see Anthony Joshua fight. And so he maybe going to some foreign territory where Joshua maybe has to earn a little bit of respect from the spectators or earn some new fans. Maybe that will ignite a bit of a fire in him. It's interesting. I definitely like the thought of this idea. And I, for one, as I say, I like to see fighters travel the world and fight in different places. So, yeah, just to give you my thoughts, I think it's an interesting little development and an idea for Anthony Joshua's, this phase of Anthony Joshua's career. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else I want to pick out of this? It's, as I say, the sentence structure of this article is atrocious, but maybe I'm just feeling the effects of a long day. But yeah, regardless, Anthony Joshua needs to have this development stage of his career because, oh yeah, that's another thing. I want to retract something I said in an earlier video. I think it was my What is Wrong with Anthony Joshua video. And that was that I believe that Anthony Joshua needed a year or 18 months to time out of the ring. And a lot of people disagreed with me, and I heard them out. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe, that is, it is a bit unnecessary, because the Oleksandr Usyk fights, they were physically damaging to a degree. I'm sure every fight is, unless it's a complete blast out. But Joshua wasn't starched by Deontay Wilder or anyone like that. So it's not like he needs time away from the ring to physically and neurologically recover. I think he needs that time to recover emotionally and mentally. That's the biggest hit from those two Usyk fights was to Joshua's psyche and his mindset. So yeah, I think some momentum will probably do him good, especially if he's going in against a capable opponent who's not a complete knockover job, but someone who he can just work things out against and get some morale and take an opportunity to gel with Robert Garcia, of course. And it's all about maximizing Anthony Joshua's potential from a psychological point of view and from a physical point of view, because I think Anthony Joshua still has a lot to give. And regardless of what you think, I think the proof is in the pudding that Anthony Joshua has been good for this division. He's a very exciting and entertaining addition, and someone who seems to put it all on the line and is willing to fight anyone. So yes, those are my thoughts on this news. I like it. I like the idea of an Anthony Joshua World Tour fighting these lower caliber heavyweights, because they can still be entertaining fights. And if he goes to these foreign territories, it's like the spotlight is still on him. I think the spotlight will always be on Joshua to some degree because he is such a big name, especially in the UK. But the intensity of the spotlight could be turned down a little bit to give him space to have these learning fights and to hone his craft and whatnot. So, as I say, I'll leave this article linked in the description. Check it out if you want. I'd encourage you to do so. And leave your comments in the comment section below. Do you agree with what I've said? Do you disagree? Do you think I've missed anything? Leave it down there and I'll get back to you. And as always, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.